before my very first UPW, Unleash Your Power Within, I couldn't hold an eye contact. I had just been diagnosed as being dyslexic. I felt broken, and I just thought this is how my life is going to be now. So I went to UPW alone, with no friends and no confidence. And to be honest, deciding to go was one of the biggest achievement, we could say, or biggest shift, win of my life at that time was just doing that. And in this video, I want to share how I was before I went, what happened in the room, and who I became after. Because the real shift didn't happen from the hype, it happened from the choice. So let's begin. So back then, I was in my early 20s and I was this extremely shy, awkward human being. I have just come back to the UK to live and not really having or knowing and just getting used to the whole system again. And it was really it was terrible. So when I went back into school and started noticing, okay, they like oh how things were and all those things, uh, it's like they're now like I guess here the system's better in capturing and understanding when someone's hmm, I think we need to check this thing out. So I went and did like I was in a college at the time, and they had like where you can just do like a quick assessment, and I did the assessment. And it showed like yes, there's a tendency that you are dyslexic. I was like, oh, so we now need to like do the official thing. And I think then it wasn't. I think I can't even remember what happened, but I just couldn't get the proper official diagnosis on the NHS or something. I had to go private. So in private, we pay for the thing, did the assessment, interesting assessment. Yes, I was told that I was, and you know how like going through life and going through all those things that have happened with like being made fun of, like not being able to express one in writing, how with everything that was going on, it was just kind of like relief at the same time, kind of like, oh, I guess this is how it is then. This is how life is gonna be. Like at least I know that it's not all on me, but oh, it's just this condition that like, but at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, we just have to like carry on with life now and just try and figure things out and like let things be. So yeah, we just carried on with life. Just going to college. I think I was now uni or something, or at the time, and all those things. And then my sister was in the States, so I went to visit my sister for the holidays. And while I was there, because I was in this thing where, because I didn't have friends, when I'm not in school, it's like I would just sleep all day and be awake all night. Yeah, oddness. And going over to the state, I don't think it was jet lag. It was just like same thing carried on. I was just like watching and watching and consuming entertainment or just whatever. And in one of this late night watching scenes that I used to do all the time. And information came up, and it was about Tony Robbins' personal power, and it was intriguing. And seeing all like what was shit like it caught my eyes. And fortunately for me, it was one of like when I just arrived that I saw it. I was like, no, I'm getting this. So I'm like, I clocked in, phoned up, got the stuff because I wanted it to come back before I came back this way. And came just before I was back to come back. came back and started listening to this thing, I started having some like, the shift and the awareness, like, oh wow, like this is great. This feeling of mine. I can't even remember how what personal power is, but either there was like you can then sign up to do the UPW from there or whatever, or they had me on the mailing list, they told me about it or whatever. All I knew was like he was, oh, I think I did it for a while. I just don't even know what happened. And then I forgot about it. But then I don't know how I got to hear about UPW that was happening in London in the Excel Center. And the thought of, and I was one of those people like, I would just homeschool, school home, go out with folks and come back. There wasn't kind of like doing other stuff or like just hanging out with friends or doing whatever. It was like da 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 da. So the thought of me going to this event and then on my own and for 4 days, the weirdest thing ever. Like I don't even know how what I even told my mom at the time or how like remember, but I just knew that I was debating. I knew that if I go, something will shift or I would get this haha because from this cassette, I'm already getting some juiciness. So the thought of being in the room and being in that space was gold. But at the same time, the shy me was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be with so many people. And what have seen in the infomercial and seeing how the event and the people are, it's like I am not sure if I could do this or like what this thing is. So this me, this lanky shy person who also, and I think it was during summer or whatever. So I've got this birthmark on the whole of my left arm, and it was also part of the thing that made me very shy and very awkward. I remember just going, minding my own business in the mall, and this kid, bless his soul, was like, "Mom, look at that!" and like scream. Like sometimes when I don't know if it's like early, like the mall would just echo. So I always try to like go when there are not so many people. And his mama came with a baby. Maybe she had the same idea. She didn't want to go with when a lot of people were there. And he screamed and pointed at me. I didn't even know he was pointing at me. I was like, Mom, what's that? I was like, oh my gosh. Let this ground open up again and get me. Like, what? Like, I don't need this attention. So yeah. So then I was like very protect, like covering. I always wore like long sleeve, like it just consciously. Sometimes now I just unconsciously just be drawn to like the long sleeve. It's just yeah, it's just a habit, I guess, that you just form, and unless if you're conscious like what you're getting. But I was very conscious of people seeing it and the weather and like what I was gonna like put on. I was sweating buckets, and I then decided like, you know what, I really need to go because if I've got this like oh, what would be there? So with everything that I had on, the awkwardness, the shyness, the whole thing that was like was more than going, me getting those tickets and deciding to go was huge, especially going alone and going with no. I don't even think I told my mom what I was doing. I just went. And the first time, like the first day, it was like if you haven't been to the Excel Center, like to me at that time, it felt like this. I'm trying to look for an analogy to explain the feeling of you could hear the event. I felt like a mile before, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'm like, oh my goodness. I could hear these people as I was going. And as I was going, my mind was like, man, we know we didn't have a good night's sleep because I was so like tense and like concerned about what this is about. Let's just go back home because we're already tired. And just hearing the atmosphere, and you can see people that are coming as well. They're all chirpy, all happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck am I signing myself up for? Everyone's like they're meet, hey, hi, and like meeting up and saying hi, and like, oh, it's like, and every step I'm getting closer to this place, I am just seeing the weirdest interaction. To me, then it was weird. The weirdest, like people just smiling at you for no reason. Like my eyes just raised it to the ground, and like every time I just like slightly just to look a bearing of where I'm going, I catch someone's like what the heck, people? I don't know you. Why are you smiling at me? And like because you can just tell. I think that was the only event that was happening around that place there. So everyone just knew. So I guess it was like we're going to the same place, we're doing the same thing. So we're like cool, right? Me then didn't think it was cool. We finally got to the gates, queued up, got to the thing, and it's like, hello, hi, welcome. I'm like, oh gosh, have mercy. Here's like got me the wrist thing and the lanyard, and here's your book. And he's like, yeah. And everyone's like doing high five. I was like, babe, I was just my eyes was on the ground. So we avoid when I looked up and saw like what as you're walking and people are like trying to give you the high five as you're going. I don't know you, babe. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Finally, like I've got my ticket and I got I think at the time like the lowest of all tickets I think was the general. Because I think when you could see where you could sit on the thing or is whatever, I just knew I wanted to be at the back, like the very back, so that if I just felt uncomfortable, I could like zoom out. Then I got in, and yes, the music is going, it's flowing. I mean, like when I'm in my own house, in the privacy of myself, we can move our body. But when we're in public, we don't know how to dance or we don't know how to move. We don't even know how to nod our head. We just be. And yeah, went into the room, found my seat. Everything was about to start. Everyone was like going, and the person beside me was like, "Yeah, hi." I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. They introduced themselves to me. What does a normal person do? They return, oh, hi, yeah, I'm Nene. I'm like, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Minding my business. Like, why are you telling me what your name is? I don't even know you from Adam. Like, what? So I'm like, mm-hmm. And the thing went up. Like, oh gosh, God bless those people in those time. I tell you, the awkwardness of like, how do you even whatever? And then it's like people wanting to like say hi and they're coming in for the hug. I'm like, people hugging and like a statue. Like, what is this? And then we started. I can't even remember if he came on, and um, I don't remember exactly. All I knew is that while I was in that space, we're talking about what 20 odd years ago. Like what? And then somebody else turned up. I'm like, who's this dude? You ain't Tony? Who's this? I came to see Tony. I'm like, what's I didn't even know how the thing works. And that person now is now kind of like what like my my main mentor now. It was Joseph McLennan III that came on stage and his energy, I was like, oh, a brother. I was like, oh, and then he was just saying stuff and everything was just landing. And it was just, I was just in awe of like, when you're hearing something for the first time and not like, wow, huh. And then Tony came in and then people and the crew and all this, it was awkward, but at the same time, like, wow, okay, I'm feeling this, but I'm not feeling it, but I'm okay. Like, we're not comfortable as long as people don't talk to me, as long as people leave me alone. Let me just see. But it ain't happening. Like, it was just more because it was all this interaction. Now, give your body a high five and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, people come like, oh yeah, or what this, and everyone's there standing right around and they're sitting, or if it's like not to look awkward, I would just stand, and because I can't see, and then I'll just like get up. And I think for me, because I've like had a taste of what's possible, I just knew that, what's the worst that could happen? You're already like feeling like your life has no meaning, or like this is it's just going to be this awkwardness. When you want, for me at the time, I knew I wanted different, but at the same time I didn't believe that it was possible for me. And I had this thing going, but there was something that was like, I didn't have those words at the time, but you're made for more. But I just had that feeling, and going through the days, and I mean, the music and the atmosphere, even with my awkwardness, I think I gave myself that permission to just like, at least you don't know anyone here. You're not gonna see them again. So just just do what you you know what you can do. And I think just giving myself that grace was was great. And even like during the lunchtime or break time, and then when you're gonna get stuff by yourself, and people don't notice. And I think, I don't know if it's just the community, like, oh yeah, join us. I was like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to like, it was just I was like, oh yeah, I'm meeting. But I think the first time I gave an excuse that I was meeting someone else. I had no one else to meet, but I just kind of like, oh, thank you, I don't know. But by day 3 or whatever, I was like, oh, like when the invite came, like, yeah, I jumped on the opportunity to just hang. It was awkward, but I think because I was sitting down next to them, this person, and they just noticed, like, oh yeah, you're here by yourself. Like, yeah. And then we got talking, and then that came on. Because as you're doing the exercises and the different things you're doing, the ahas and the like, oh my goodness. Oh, you mean this is not my truth? Oh, this is just a thing. Wow, people are actually in worse situation than me. It was just kind of like, whoa, like this is happening, and seeing the breakthrough and really allowing myself. And I think for me then, because I had such deep ingrained belief that my this is my life. My life is going to be this awkward person that is just like this, with nobody, no friendly, no anything. Like, this is how it is for me. And I think for me, the event, or it was more kind of like, it is not, it is not your story. It was like, it just freed me up going through the process, doing that Dickens exercise that was there, that actually like reconnected, and like, and then doing, just going through the thing and being in the room, and taking it on, and just freeing myself, even what with my awkwardness. And I think because of how loving and how supportive the group were, I think that just allowed me to loosen up a bit. Not that I loosened up like grandiose or whatever, but I just felt like, um I felt good. And it's always for me, before when, like, I would ask, when is this thing finishing? Because I just did not want to go out with a group. So I think the very first couple of days I went out, like maybe half an hour or so before they say, okay, now Maya, the song is about to come in. And I'm like, okay, see how it's coming. I am out that door. I'm out in the thing because I just did not want to be there in a way or like because of the awkwardness of of the thing. Yeah. But there were but as the days went on, as the we're going through the different exercises and realizing, I think for me, the great stuff for me was actually just walking on fire or the charcoal, the coals or whatever. And the significance of that, oh my goodness, I did this. I can freaking do anything, right? Like if this is possible because I put my mind and I was like centered and anchored in this thing, I am a fireworker. In my head, I felt I could do magic. That was huge for where I came from in my feelings, in my emotion, in my thinking. To now have that, I think that's what made me come back the next day. Having to be able to do that, I felt so empowered, even in my shy state, and then going in and doing the different aspect of what's been like the whole thing. That it was just so transformational for me. It was so like I felt like I was gonna say I felt like a rebirth thing. And doing that, oh my goodness, was one of the I just felt like words can't describe it. I was gonna say I just felt like home. But I felt so cool, even though this is like how like so with all that feeling that was going on, I just thought like, man, this is grand. Um, so when the thing ended and there was this thing to now go on like, oh, we get to be able to do this again. My sorry ass just signed up for it. I went up for the mastery. I did a mastery and having to go through that, coming from someone who didn't believe in themselves, didn't have the feeling, and then finishing this thing and like going alive wouldn't, you know, that song would never be the same. Life is changed. Like I that song I anchored it in and it was so powerful. And I guess for me, afterwards, it was you can feel the like it was a huge breakthrough. It was a huge aha for me from someone who was so awkward, who could not look people in the eye, who would mumble her words, and we're just like, I always like people's like, excuse me, pardon, like what? Like it was always because like, yeah, thank you very much. I just want to know like that, and I'd be like, what? Yeah, that's how I spoke at the time. And by the end of that event, I was looking at people in the eye. I felt like a miracle. I was like, yes, and moving and dancing, and like, I can't believe I could see things. I didn't have to be like, oh, you catch yourself, and then it's like you're looking down. But by the end of the 4 days, I believe it was 4 days, I was looking people in the eye. We were connecting, we were talking, we're high fiving, we're hugging. They'll get us to like do the massage, and then the other side, like like it was like a full on immense thing that just being there was such a big aha for me that choosing and just agree like just allowing myself to just participate in it. It's awkward, but just do it. Yes, you don't know how to hug, you know, you want to hug people, and then we're both going to the same way. That's how awkward it was sometimes. Like you can just tell this person's going that way, you go that way, and then there's some person is going like this and I'm going the same way. I'm mirroring them. And then we're like almost like oh Yeah, that's how awkward it was because I don't hug people beforehand. It was more kind of like my hugging is always like this, and this one they want to use it like what the like. But allowing myself to go through and be and participate was the best gift I ever gave myself. Choosing to just keep playing along, how awkward it was, how uncomfortable, how like, and like taking it in and just being through it was so powerful for me. It was like so liberating. Like I got so much by being in the room, by just showing up, that I feel like it is something that I would recommend anyone to just try and just have that experience. You get that dopamine hits, you get the breakthrough, the transformation, the engagement, the belief shifting, like all those things happening. And it was the best feeling ever. I felt so empowered coming after it. I mean, I still had work to do, but seeing the possibility, but seeing like the beginning of like, whoa, what is possible for me? I mean, there was still that underlying belief of like it wasn't like 100% in, but for a first event, it was just like no, I got the bug. I got that like the juiciness of being in that space and just being the live connection. And even though I didn't have, it wasn't like how it is now that when you go out, you connect people, you now like exchange social medias or you do certain things or you hang out. It wasn't a case back then. I think I didn't really keep in touch or have anyone at a time. But going back and just finishing, I felt so empowered. I had this belief in self. I just knew that, you know, life could look different. This this is different. This is like a whole different thing. Like what has happened, this diagnosis, I get to like, you know, live it, figure it out, whatever that is. So empowered by it. It felt like night and day. The first day I went in there and the last day I was like a totally different person. I was dancing now, like I couldn't like we were just flowing, waited to the dying minute to get to for the thing to end and just started like feeling the songs and like going in and as you're leaving and it's just like going with other people and like the hype of the energy and the talking. It was man. It's something that everyone just try like have an experience of to just have a go of. And because I feel like I have been to other of his events like since then, and every time I go in it's always a different thing, but that initial first one was just the best decision ever to just go because there were so many moments before that it wouldn't have been a thing. And I'm glad that I decided, even knowing with the uncomfort, like everything, I just knew that something like, let's just go and see. Like, let's go. But what I saw and what I gained and who I became in that small moment at a time didn't mean like after the event, I now became this like, whoa, no, I still had work to do. But something had shifted. Something had like clocked in me. I caught the bug of like, whoa, wow, life could look different. Life could be so much like different than this. And and every time I think about it, I'm so grateful for that decision that I did that day to get that ticket because I was that close to. And I just thought, even if I got it, I don't have to. But I'm glad I got it, and I'm glad I went because who I am today is because of that decision to go to that event. Yeah, and and the transformation and the different things that I have been able to do, and realizing that what I've been able to do, I get to be able to help other people like get the same juiciness, the awkwardness. Um, Going to that first one didn't make me who I am today, but it gave me that spark, it gave me that love of personal development, of like just improving, of seeing like, whoa, I could do better. I can, like, I've got the power, the choice to start changing. The whole event, I tell you, you go afterwards, you're like, oh, okay. Because you go in with one focus. And I think for me that day will just give my permission to like be and to stay. And when I think about how far I've come and where I am now, I'm so grateful for that very first UPW that I attended and how I was just after. Even though, like, things like when whatever that was, but I got the spark. And that was it. If anything, it was seeing people and just being in a space that, oh, yes, I remember my first. That was my first, and I'm so grateful for it. And I've gone on to do other stuff. I've now like a neuroencoding specialist, a dual lead neuroencoding specialist, and I've also done the Quantum Leap Your Life and Business Success Coach, NLP practitioner, and all those things because of the spark of that place, because of seeing that possibility, because of like having that aha moment and the breakthroughs that happened, and started doing a subtle work. Are we here today? So yeah, that's do share what, if you've ever been to UPW, what your experience has been like, what that gets to look like. Again, if you're wanting to just have conversation about just whatever, like what's showing up or sparking in regards to you staying close to the to that fire, or wanting to like figure out how do I start embodying who I who I am truly, conversation wise. This is not convincing or fixing thing. We're just getting some clarity in whatever it is that's showing up for us. I am Nene. We do this every single day. Remember that your voice matters and it's your time to use it. Bye for now.